Hi, I'm Emily Robinson. Welcome to our podcast, Life After D, with my co-host, Lenard Guzman, who looks like he's in Union Station, which is gorgeous. And I'd love to be there anywhere that's not home or my office or court. That's the only places I go these days. But this is our podcast. We talk about life after divorce and how to get through it and the ups and the downs. And we talk about celebrity divorces and we answer your questions. So we are excited to talk about what's going on in the news today.
Yeah, today's September 2nd. So this is like technically the first, or second day of fall, right? Is this how it works?
It's not exactly sure what they consider the beginning of fall, but all the kids are back in school. So to me, that means fall.
Okay, so yeah, virtual school.
Yeah, virtual
but it's
school.
It's weird. I'm here in the valley in California, San Fernando Valley, and it's just like, it doesn't feel like fall. It's like gonna be 112 degrees like in a couple days.
I know. We don't have seasons here. Oh, we have not fire season and fire season, and that's it. And then it's just basically summer the rest of the year.
Okay, so this part of the show, we're gonna get to the news. First things first. It's like a podcast I like to listen to. I'm like, first things first. All right, so here we go. U.S. divorce rates skyrocket amid COVID-19 pandemic. We've seen this topic a lot, and
Yeah.
it's like kind of repeats. So the article says divorce rates have spiked in the U.S. during coronavirus pandemic as couples have been stuck at home for months. The number of people looking for divorces was 34% higher from March through June compared to 2019, according to a new data collected Legal Templates, a company that provides legal documents. The combination of stress, unemployment, financial strain, death of loved ones, illness, homeschooling children, mental illnesses, and more has put a significant strain on relationships. The data showed that 31% of the couples admitted lockdown has caused irreparable damages to the relationship. Interest in separation during quarantine peaked on April 13th, just about 15 to 20 days into when the vast majority of states began lockdowns. Let's see, let me finish with this one. This uptick could coincide with what Health and Human Services professionals refer to as the disillusionment phase of the phases of disaster, the time when optimism turns into discouragement, stress heightens, and negative reaction often occur, the group wrote. They said that the newlyweds took the hardest hit.
Well, that doesn't surprise me because, part of being a newlywed is you get to now learn a lot about the other person and, spend time together, but you don't expect to spend every second together and to learn everything up front right away. Relationships have a natural progression, and this is sort of forcing people to, progress really quickly. Like, what if you were in a new dating relationship and COVID hit? Now you got to decide, am I quarantining with this person or without this person? So it's tough. I think divorces are increasing because people are getting sick of being stuck home with each other. But I also think that, this may be a time when people who were kind of on the fence before look at things and say, okay, well, work is slow, or, I'm sort of stuck in this situation. Life is kind of on pause. I'm just going to pull the trigger and do it and divorce. So they may have been thinking about it before this, and this sort of pushed it. I also think people are getting to that point where they're just over this. They're either getting depressed because there's no end in sight, and it's been 5 months of these stay-at-home orders, or they're just accepting that, they've been putting things off and waiting until things go back to normal, and they're accepting that things aren't going back to normal for a long time. So maybe they were holding off on divorce, but now they're deciding to proceed with it. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into play there.
I've never gone to a Zoom wedding, but I mean, like, weddings can be a pain. Like, I gotta like fly somewhere sometimes, a different city. I gotta like dry clean my suit. I gotta see relatives I don't want to see, or like people I don't want to see. This Zoom thing, I'm like looking forward to going to a Zoom wedding in the near future. So if there's anybody who wants to invite me to their Zoom wedding, I will be happy to come. I'll change my or something. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, so next.
I agree. I think that'd be a lot of fun. You know, what'd be cool is like, let's say the wedding's in a church, if like every person had the same background of the same church. And then at least in your wedding photos, it kind of looks like everyone was there.
Yeah, like a screenshot of like 100 people. Like, I can't imagine a Zoom call with like 300 people, like you would have it at a bigger wedding.
I was just on one with 60 and I thought that was a lot. It was actually a Zoom funeral, which unfortunately I have been to a few of those. And yeah, that's interesting having 60 people on a Zoom call.
Yeah, I can't imagine, like, I get 3 or 4 people on a Zoom call and we can't function socially. Like, I guess you got to take turns. Like, we start putting timers and like, hey, mute your mic and we'll point to you when you're ready to talk. So
exactly, that's what you have to do.
All right, so that's the new world now. So the next article, I'm into this. I don't know if I got cookied here or something, but I'm starting to watch this Reno 911 show. It's like an older show, like I want to say 10 years ago, but it's 2020. This came out like 2000, early 2000s, let's say. So Niecy Nash, she's a character on the show. She reveals a surprise marriage to Jessica Betts less than a year after Jay Tucker divorced. Niecy Nash just revealed her marriage to artist Jessica Betts less than a year after she announced her divorce from husband Jay Tucker. On Monday, August 31st, the celeb surprised her followers when she shared a photo from her nuptials to girlfriend Jessica Betts. She mentioned the picture. She captioned the picture of the ceremony with the hashtag #LoveWins. Let's see. In the picture, which the couple shared to their respective Instagram accounts, a 50-year-old is wearing a white mermaid-style bridal gown as she holds up her bouquet in one hand. Jessica is dressed in a white suit, but ditched the jacket in favor of a more casual look. Niecy acknowledged that her wedding comes as a shock to many of her followers, writing on her Instagram story, hashtag plot twist. Is there a way, like, is there a time frame when after like a divorce finalizes to where like one of the spouses can get married? Is there, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, there's not. In California, you could get married the next day after your divorce is finalized. And I have seen people do it. I've had to sometimes go in on an emergency to get a divorce entered because it's taking too long and the wedding is scheduled for the next day and they can't get married until this divorce gets finalized. So yeah, there's no timeline. I mean, from an emotional perspective, it may not be the best decision to get married that quickly after a divorce is done. However, some people have also been separated for many years, or, you know, they've been kind of done with the marriage for a long time. So the divorce part is just, you know, a legal formality and they're ready to move on right after it's done.
I met this older gentleman, and I want to say he got married 3 times and had 3 divorces.
Oh.
And I was like, you know, we would have lunch and he would always blame his ex-wife. I'm thinking in my head like, hey, you're the common denominator here, and then of course he has like a girlfriend, and he's like, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, nah.
Some people just can't be alone, and they're even if they have to go through the headache of multiple divorces, they'd rather know that they're with somebody, I guess, and have that person. A lot of people will choose to just stay in a relationship and not actually get married, but some people won't and aren't happy with that. And maybe those women demanded that they go to the next level if they're going to stay together. Who knows?
Okay, that's that's a good point. From psychologytoday.com, 5 things couples do that lead to divorce. Okay, let's go through these. They work against each other. Let's see. You're doing this if A, you say things like he always or she never, and demonize your partner, seeing them as the opposition. B, you have the same fight repeatedly without resolution or compromise. You're probably polarizing. C, you loop on a story of how your partner is harming you. So it says the solution is if you're polarizing, work hard to understand your spouse's perspective and meet them halfway. Okay, the number 2 one is they didn't communicate with each other about their needs and feelings. Number 3, they stopped spending time together. Here we go. I observed my parents' annual adult-only vacation fees, conversations about golf and gardening dried up, and they stopped socializing. Okay. The 4th thing is they began to see the solution to their problems outside of the marriage. And let's see, is that? Oh, here we go. I missed the 5th. Here you go. And then number 5, they do not seek help.
Well, yeah, I mean, as you can see, most of those things you listed are things that are totally fixable and things that you can deal with if you do seek help. So that's why it's really important to seek help before it's too late. Give it a shot. Try to find someone who can help, who can counsel you, because those things that you stated, those are fixable. Those aren't things that are fatal to a relationship. You just have to get the right help. And hopefully, people will read articles like that and realize that there is hope and there is a way to fix things. I mean, of course, that's not always the case, but if those are the 5 top reasons, most of those are fixable.
Okay, next article. Dear therapist, should my parents get divorced? I've known that my parents haven't gotten along. They're polar opposites. For quite some time, I've known that my parents haven't got along. They're polar opposites. My father's mild-mannered to the point of it's a big word, reticence. My mother is mercurial. Wow, that's very descriptive. And can go from playful and loving to angry in a matter of minutes. Often they fought in the past. I played mediator even though I was a teenager. After I left for college, the fights became bigger and more serious. Now my mother seems to resent my father's very existence. My father has retreated from her and the rest of us. I have only really seen him happy when my mother is out of town. My parents have never once talked about divorce openly. They come from a social, religious, and cultural background that attaches a lot of shame to it. But recently, my father confided in me an act that I see as monumental, that after a particular heated fight, he realized he was reaching a breaking point. He said he's been thinking of divorce unless something can change. He's open to marriage counseling, but he knows that persuading my mother to attend is an uphill battle. I know that he came to me because he thinks I might be the only one in our family who can convince her.
Wow, that's tough, especially when, kids get involved. I mean, I assume these kids are adult kids, so it's different, but But sometimes that is true. Sometimes the kids are the only ones that can convince the parents to, work on the marriage. It sounds like the dad wants to. So if that child can talk to the mom, that could be really helpful. But ultimately, it's got to be the parents' decision. Only they can decide if they should divorce or not. Sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And people who are miserable together may be miserable for other reasons too. And it may not be better even once they divorce. So the parents really have to take a good look at their relationship and decide if it's something they think they can fix.
Okay. Yeah, it's really tough. It's not fair to the child.
No.
So this article is about, it's on Yahoo, Kasey Musgraves. You a fan of that artist?
Yeah, I like Niecy Musgraves.
Yeah, she has some good stuff.
Yeah.
My wife's really into it, and she got me hooked on it. I'm like, when she plays the Spotify list, I just got that whole song in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, something, Cosmic House. Okay. Well, anyway, Kasey Musgraves' divorce proved that music is a lie. So this article goes on, wow, this makes me feel good. I should do this all the time. I think to myself every time I listen to music, and then I immediately forget that thought. I hardly listen to entire albums. Let's skip down here. Okay, so I guess she got divorced, Kasey Musgrave. I absorbed her work into my being to the point where on July 3rd, 2020, I was sent into a tailspin over the announcement that Kasey's divorcing her husband, fellow singer-songwriter Rustin Kelly, after 3 years of marriage. While their breakup was a mutual healthy decision, according to the couple, that didn't soften its effect on me. All I could think about was Golden Hour, Musgrave's 2018 inspired album by her relationship with Kelly. And about that album reminded me of my romantic timeline. This quote here by Musgraves: I started to see the world in a more fun, pretty light after meeting this person who really allows me to just be myself, not to have to walk on eggshells for any reason. Songs started pouring out. And then this person who wrote this, I could relate to the feeling, minus the Grammy award-winning songs. So I guess music, when Musgraves writes these songs, it's like a moment in time, right?
Well, yeah, a lot of these very talented people, their art comes from their emotions and their life experiences, and it inspires their art, and their pain or their happiness. So that's like really important that they have these experiences so they can create their art. It's unfortunate that they have to go through some sad times to create the art, but the happy times do create the art too, and that's great. So I think that hopefully she goes on to more happy times, but I know that we all appreciate musicians, and a lot of their songs are about sad things. So there may be more sad things coming out now, but yeah, there are moments in time, there are moments in their lives, but they relate to non-celebrity people, and we kind of live vicariously through them.
Yes. Okay, so in this part of the show, we're going to go over posts that people are writing online, and hopefully Emily could kind of go through it and give some good tips and advice. What about that, Emily?
That's the goal.
All right, let's get to it. Okay, first one, thinking about divorce. I've been married for 19 years. I want more from him, time, energy, involvement that I don't think he's willing to give. He says he will, but it makes me feel pathetic to have to beg someone you're supposed to be in love with to spend more time with you. I have 2 kids that are essentially grown. One's left at home, and he really wasn't involved in raising them much either. Now that it is just us, I finally I find I am more lonely than ever. I have a great job and can afford to live on my own, so none of that really freaks me out. My sister went through a divorce 2 years ago. She suggests I get a therapist to talk me through my thoughts. What should I do? My name is on our house and I don't want to just leave it, but I also don't want to keep it either. My husband isn't the best with money, so leaving a house behind seems risky, and I'm not sure I could get him to move out. You have any thoughts?
Well, for the house, the easiest thing to do is probably sell it and to split the equity. That probably makes the most sense, assuming there's equity. As far as begging someone to do what you want, there's a difference between begging them and telling them what you want. People aren't mind readers. So even though we think our spouse should know what we want, especially after a lot of years of marriage, that's not necessarily the case. They might not, and our needs change and people get overwhelmed with work and life. So it's really important to tell them what it is that you want so they're not guessing, because that's what can lead to a lot of discord and unhappiness.
Okay. Spent a lot of time on the news today. This is our last post for the day. This post, the husband left me last night. What next steps should I take? My husband left me last night. He told me he wants a divorce. We've been married for 2 years, but together for 8. We've been doing marital counseling for 9 months, and I thought things were improving, so I definitely am in shock. It is not a mutual agreement. I'm still very much in love with him and wish to be with him. He said he doesn't really have a reason other than it just didn't feel right and doesn't see us having a future together anymore. I'm so overwhelmed and don't even know where to begin the healing process. I left to spend the night at my sister's because I didn't want to be alone, but I have barely slept because I feel like I don't even know what steps I need to take now.
Oh, that's a hard situation. Well, in California, only one person needs to want the divorce. So even if that person doesn't want the divorce, it's still going to happen. But I think the most important thing to do is to take an inventory and like a snapshot of where all bank accounts and financial accounts and assets and debts are at the day that you separate, because that's the date they're going to be divided as of. So if, that way, oh, one person, drained the entire account after they left, and you can get the money back that they drained because you have proof of what was in there the day they left. And I think that's probably the most important thing to do is make a list, figure out, get the statements for whatever the situation is that on that day.
Okay. So that's all the time we have for today. I noticed I like those couches like you're sitting in, that's like I went to a therapist and that's like the couch I found. They're very like firm, but like it gives a little squish to it. So I just noticed that. I just wanted to say that.
They're comfy.
So as we close the show, do you have any last words to the audience?
Stay safe from fires. Stay healthy. And if you are thinking about divorce, think about it before you file, because some people are just frustrated in their current situation being stuck at home and it's not really what they want. So try to see, if it's really what you want or if you're just going through a temporary difficult time.
Yeah, I think it's really tough. I think like when you're at home for all these hours together, like usually you'd have a routine, right? You get up, maybe have breakfast, go to work for 8 or 9 hours, get on the road to commute. So it's like, and then come back and then have like, I think we read something about golf and gardening. You got to get out, like.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a kind of a weird time, but I think this is how everyone has to kind of get used to. So.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So until next time, next week, the Life After D podcast. It looks like you had something to say, Emily. Did I interrupt the thought?
No, I always have something to say, but
No. All right, save it for next week.
okay.
Cliffhanger. All right. Thank you for listening to the Life After D podcast. Bye.
Okay, bye.